4 wins on the bounce in Sky Bet League One have put Rovers within touching distance of the automatic promotion places with games in hand. The fixtures don't get any easier though, with Oxford United the next test in a game that sees 2 of the division's form teams go head to head. It's Rovers against Oxford from 3 p.m. Good afternoon and welcome back to the Keepmoat Stadium, and thank you for joining us for our pre-match build-up to the game against Oxford United in Sky Bet League One. Joining me this afternoon, Doncaster Rovers reporter for the Free Press, Liam Hoden, and host of the 18 Dapper YouTube channel, Dan Pearson. Liam, a really big game this afternoon, both teams coming into it in fine form. How do you see it going?
It's going to be very, very interesting. I think there's the potential that it could be like that game last weekend at Lincoln. We know that Oxford are a relentless attacking team. We've seen that before in matches against them. But you'd like to think Rovers have learned a little bit from that one. They're going to look after the ball a little bit better, particularly on home soil. So I think it's going to be a fantastic game. A
slow start to the season from Oxford. Do you feel that was partly down to the loss in the playoff final last season, a bit of a hangover coming into the campaign?
I think it's got to be, and particularly they had no time to really get over it, and shake that off. So that played so late and so close to the start of the new season. But I think everybody kind of felt that they were in a false position. I think 8 defeats from the opening 10 games in the league, but they've certainly made up for it since, and they're going to be well up there towards the end of the season.
And quite rightly so as well, with Rovers up there themselves, Dan. After last weekend's victory at Lincoln, the belief in the camp and amongst the fan base has just got higher, hasn't it?
Yeah, we're in a fantastic position, and like you say, that belief's there now. I think showing that we can win ugly is a good trait to have, especially if you're wanting to go up automatically. Anybody who wins a championship or goes up automatically will win games ugly throughout the season. But I think it's a tough period coming up for us during February and March. Fans' expectations just need to be tempered a little bit and see how we do today. This is a tough test.
How important is it that people don't get carried away? Because although it seems like Rovers are close to something special, there's still more than half of the season remaining.
Yeah, I think it's good to get carried away and kind of look forward to potentially going up into the championship. But yeah, it's looking at these results over the next couple of weeks to see how we lie in the league, really.
And we touched on there that win at Lincoln last weekend. It sent a real statement of intent out to the rest of Sky Bet League One. And here are the highlights from that game at the LNER Stadium.
That in terms of a win to give you confidence, I think that was absolutely massive, and it just continued that trend what we've had since the turn of the year of that defensive resolution and that grit and determination to see games out.
We've had Andy Butler on this show a couple of times, but how much do you feel he's helped that? Just that bit more experience within the group when things get a little bit tough and it's not all going your own way, just having that steady head in the back four to guide you along.
I think that's it. He's been there, seen it and done it all really, and experienced games like that in the past. And that's always handy to have somebody like that in.
Dan, what were your emotions as Ellery Balcom's coming rushing out last Saturday for that second penalty?
As he's rushing out, I'm thinking, what are you doing? Stop. And it was like slow motion. We've seen the script before. we were talking earlier, I think the penalty save probably gave him a bit of confidence and thought he could take on the world, and unfortunately he did what he did, but what a way to make up for it.
Yeah, I think I gave him a bit of stick for the foul initially, but he more than made up for it. And watching those saves in particular, neither of them were bad penalties, were they? In the corner, and the fact he managed to keep hold of them as well, rather than parry them out to a non-rushing Lincoln player, showed the quality that he possesses.
Yeah, that what does make it so impressive is the fact that he did hold it on both occasions. But two different penalties, two going for the bottom corner, and managed to stop them both. Fantastic. And he pulled a couple of decent saves off as well earlier on in the game. But what I really liked about him is how commanding he is, and the amount of times he received a ball at the near post and then held on to that as well. That was massive in keeping Lincoln out.
After that penalty, the second penalty save, there was still a couple of minutes of normal time and a few minutes added on as well. But you sort of sensed, didn't you, that after that, Lincoln felt that there was nothing left in the tank. That after everything they'd thrown at Rovers, I think Grant had hit the bar in the second half, the two penalty misses as well. It just seemed like beyond that point, Rovers had done enough.
I think if there were any indication that it weren't going to be Lincoln's day, it were missing the second penalty. But yeah, it's hard for a team to come up against a brick wall that just shows no sign of breaking, and that's exactly what Rovers were last week. And I think we saw towards the end that Lincoln had kind of given up hope a little bit.
I know Lincoln won last night, Dan, to sort of extend that gap back to 6 points, but to close it to 3 with all the games in hand as well. Like we mentioned earlier, belief in the camp, belief in the fan base that Rovers can beat anybody in this division. Yeah,
I think for me, whenever we're playing and other teams have played around us, it's about keeping in touch and distance. With games in hand, I'd sooner have the points on the board, but while ever we're still there or thereabouts, those games in hand, hopefully the confidence is there to pull the points.
As we mentioned earlier on, this afternoon's opponent's Oxford in a fine run of form at the moment, and that's come as no surprise to Rovers boss Darren Moore.
I think my memory serves correctly. I think they've been consistently in and around it the last 3 or 4 seasons. They've always added well to the squad in terms of the players at this level, and they've done so again, which they've been on the run of games. 1 or 2 may be surprised with it, but I just think that, Carl's an excellent manager. He knows what he wants. He's got a team and a system there that's 3 or 4 years in the making. So it's well drilled system. It's a well drilled team, and you've got an experienced manager at the level, which shows that they're making headway in the division, in the league, and they're doing really, really well. And you expect them to be real difficult opponents again on Saturday, and another hurdle for us as a team and as a club to come up against real good opposition, to put our wits against them. And we know again, Mike, in terms of the game, it's going to be a real excellent footballing match again, and a real top level game. And I certainly hope the game is a good spectacle for League One.
So you can tell there, gents, the respect that Darren Moore has for his opposite number, Carl Robinson. Danny's a really experienced manager at this level, isn't he? Still only young though.
Yeah, as we said earlier in the show, they were in a false position at the start of the season. I think their style of play and the philosophy is starting to come through, and they're getting those results. No disrespect, they've not played the teams up near the top of the table on this run of results, so again, it's a test for them today. But Carl will set up, as he does with every game, with respect to the team.
Is it pleasing, Liam, to see that Oxford stuck with him, despite when times got tough? They've probably looked at his record overall and thought he is a really good manager and he would turn it round eventually.
I think it is. I think it's always nice to see that somebody given it the opportunity, particularly when they've earned it as well. They have been there or thereabouts for a long time, so close last season. And he's always had to deal with losing players and having to rebuild, losing important players as well. And he had that again coming into this season, but they've got going now and look to be back on track.
Although Rovers' defensive display last weekend was brilliant, on the ball there were a few areas for improvement. Do you feel that'll be the main message from Darren this afternoon?
I think it's got to be, because it eases pressure, regardless of whether you're creating chances or what. If you can have a little bit of 30 seconds or so on the ball, work the ball up the pitch, you're easing that pressure, and it helps the defence reset, helps everybody else reset as well. So that's going to be a big thing today.
Because there's going to be plenty of options to come off the bench if it's not working, isn't there? Obviously Bostock's trained the last couple of days. Sims maybe not quite available for this afternoon. We'll obviously wait and see. But yeah, Bostock on there. Robertson, of course, will be on the bench as well. Plenty of options for Darren to mix it up if he needs to.
Definitely. It's fantastic. It's gone from being slightly concerned about the depth in the squad to be there's been plenty of options, and there's choices for Darren Moore to make going into each game, which with the relentless schedule that's coming up, that's perfect.
Of course, Madger returned off the bench last weekend as well, Dan, and produced a really good performance at the LNR Stadium.
Yeah, great to see him back from injury, and like Liam's just said, we're at a stage where we were quite threadbare as a squad, and to have the options available now, it's nice to see from a fan's point of view.
Of course, a busy month in January, games left, right and centre, goals left, right and centre as well. Rovers fans have been voting for their January goal of the month this week, and let's take a look at the winner. Fahiri Okunabiri with the winner then, the goal against Wimbledon down here at the Keepmoat. A brilliant finish, wasn't it, from Okunabiri? Become a bit of a trademark, hasn't it, that shot with very little backlift from just outside the area.
Yeah, I can certainly put them away in that style, but I love the build-up to it. And I know there were a little bit of fortune with Taylor Richards' pass getting cut out, but the kind of tenacity from Faye to run onto that one and finish superbly, it was a great goal.
It was after a bit of a trademark Taylor Richards run as well, wasn't it? We've seen him score from those sort of positions, but it was his ball that took a little ricochet off the defender, and Faye was exactly where you'd want him to be, tucking the chance away.
Yeah, he's difficult to keep a hold of in the midfield as soon as there's balls at his feet. Is very tricky, very direct. Yeah, very good goal.
Okunabiri now on to 10, isn't he, in all competitions? I know the Lincoln game last weekend didn't really suit him. He probably didn't see much of the ball throughout the game, but 10 goals at this stage, as we mentioned earlier on, not even at the halfway point yet, is a good return. And
particularly the fact that he went through a spell where he weren't playing so much when Tyrese John Jules were starting the majority of games. I think it's a fantastic return. Rovers have obviously needed it. The departure of Ben Whiteman, who was the top scorer before he left. So nice to see somebody stepping up. And Faye needs it too, because now he's got some more competition in the form of Omar Bogle.
He's one of a few who's stepped up though, isn't he? Since Ben's departure, Rovers have gone from relying on maybe one man to sort of get them going in games, now that there's so many players they can turn to for big moments.
It certainly can. And I mean, Matt Smith, I think, has been absolutely fantastic since then. And Darren said that he would look within to replace Ben, and he's done that so far, and he's not been let down at all. And it just shows that what he talks about in everybody knowing everybody's role and each position, it really pays off at times when you really need it.
A couple of the goals that didn't win it, of course, were from Taylor Richards. We saw him last weekend, just runs at people, and you can tell they're worried, aren't they? Backtracking, and all of a sudden he's on the edge of the penalty area and able to get a shot away.
That seems to have been something that it's been a real trademark of him more recently than before. He was looking to link play up a lot more before, but he does seem to have got a taste for it. And I think particularly in that Wimbledon game, he got one goal, but he was desperate for some more as well. But it's a good thing to see when he can produce what it has been producing.
We've seen him taken off sort of around the hour mark, haven't we, in recent weeks? Do you feel that's just a case of him running himself into the ground with the amount of work that he does?
I think it is. I think there's also a thing of it being in that position. You kind of need fresh legs. You need somebody who's at full tilt to really put pressure on the opposition. And so, yeah, I think Darren keeps mentioning the fact that he needs to build his fitness up a little bit more. So maybe we'll see a bit more of him as the season wears on.
Of course, one of the players to take that burden off him, John Bostock, he could be in line to make his Rovers debut this afternoon. And here's what he had to say on his reasons behind joining Rovers.
You know, there's a number of factors. As a family, you know, as a player, you sometimes it's quite a selfish career in terms of trying to build your own career and go where you want. But I guess as a family, priorities change, and so as a family, really wanted to come back to the UK, be based here after 6 long years away. I mean, I came back to Forest last year for a short stint on loan, but we weren't really based here long term, and so we really wanted to be based back here at a team that I really felt good in, a team that played the right way. And so, you know, with the manager here, Darren Moore, and he showed interest, and just seeing the team from a distance, seeing the way they played, seeing the ambition. Obviously, the location helps as well. It just felt right, and so I'm really glad I made the decision to join this club, and I'm really glad for the manager's desire to get me in. So it just ticked a lot of boxes, and hopefully it will tick even more in over the coming months and seasons. Honestly, when I saw the team play a few games as well, I was like, okay, like, you know, the intention to try and get the ball out from the back and play the way that we play, I was like, yeah, I would love to be involved here. So but there was other interest, to answer your question. Yeah, I've been working with the club for like 2 weeks. Rob, the sports the fitness coach, he's really been getting some work into me, which is what I've needed. And so I feel good. Obviously, match fitness will come with matches and minutes, but I feel good. Body feels strong. I've reacted well to the training, so hopefully very soon.
John Bostock then in at Rovers and had a couple of training sessions under his belt, Liam. I know you've mentioned a couple of times this signing could be a real good one for Rovers if it comes off.
Yeah, we all know the quality that he's got. He's never lost that. He's had an unbelievable journey really through football, and he's still only 29, but if he can bring that quality out of him that he's managed to produce abroad, I think he's still looking to produce it in this country. But if Rovers can see that, what a signing at this level this could be.
We've both spoken to him over the past couple of weeks and touching on off air as well, how genuine a guy he seems off the field.
I could have sat and listened to him for hours. He'd got so much to say and so much interesting stuff, and he seems incredibly level-headed, and everything that he's been through to come out of that and have a real good perspective on things is fantastic, and that should be great for Rovers on the pitch with what he brings, but also among a young squad as well. I mean, he has been through everything, so if the young players can learn from him and take his advice, then it could be massive.
Dan, I assume listening to him speak, John Bostock, that it's a pleasure hearing why he wanted to come to Rovers and the impact that he's keen to make.
Yeah, like Liam said, he seems to be very level-headed, got his head screwed on. I believe he cancelled his contract at Toulouse for family reasons, so it shows that he, as a character, he's something that we want in and around the training room, the dressing room and training ground. And like you say, I think for the younger players to have that experience to feed off, it'll mean the world.
Liam, I know you were asked in your Q&A on Friday night what the best Rovers starting 11 is, and you mentioned him, didn't you, in terms of on paper you're looking at the quality he's got, but we need to see the proof of it on the field before you can even think about whether he fits into that team.
That's it. I think if you were going on paper, he'd walk into it, but yeah, we've got a lot to see. There's a lot of, it's quite difficult at the minute to suggest what the strongest 11 would be, because there's so much to see. Omar Bogle as well. There's obviously Josh Sims to come back. Even Scott Robertson, we've not seen anything in yet. They're really highly rated player. So yeah, be interesting to see what these players deliver. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what John Bostock does. In
terms of that midfield area, where do you see Reece James fitting in as the season goes on and more central midfielders are available? Do you sense that he will be moved back to that left-back role and him and Cam battling that out, or used out wide, or do you think he's done enough to stay in that central role?
I think he has probably done enough. But the difference is you're getting sort of options coming available now that are natural in that position. I asked Darren Moore about it earlier on in the week, and he said he doesn't foresee not using players out of position between now and the end of the season. And I think games and the amount of games might dictate that more than anything else. But I would imagine that probably over the next couple of weeks you will see Reece James probably moving back to that left back position. What
that does do though is strengthen the left back position even more, isn't it? Reece maybe not needed as much in that holding role, so then him and Cam can really battle it out.
Yeah, definitely. And to have that competition for places is fantastic. Just to be able to give Darren Moore the options to swap it around and attack the team that we're facing on any given day.
Do you feel, Liam, we know Darren Moore is very much a horses for courses type of manager. This game against Oxford this afternoon is going to be the biggest example of that, do you feel?
Yeah, it could definitely be. They're going to come under a lot of pressure again, and we've seen against teams like that, he does put defensive-minded players in, but the defensive-minded players who can still cause a few problems as well. So we will be interesting to see how they line up this afternoon.
Of course, John Taylor off the bench last weekend. Do you feel his pace would be an asset if he come into the starting 11 this afternoon?
I think it will be. I think there's going to be a lot of options for counter-attacking, and we've seen how good John can be at that, and also a player to ease that pressure to carry the ball up the pitch and hopefully build something from there.
Dan, with so many bodies available now, even when you see the team and the starting 11, it's still sometimes hard to predict who's going to pop up where, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like we say, is Reece James going to be in the holding midfield? Is he going to be at left back? Could play at left wing? We just don't know. And for me, that's a positive because the opposition won't know as well. So it'll be difficult for them to prepare for us.
How do you see it going then this afternoon?
I think it's going to be open, an attacking game. I'm looking forward to it. Two form teams, but I want to say a win, but my head's saying that we're going to cancel each other out. I'm going with 1-1.
Liam, how do you see it going?
I think the game will be very much as Dan said, but I'm going to go 2-1 Rovers.
Liam, Dan, thank you for your company. Thank you at home for watching as well. Head over to iFollow Rovers now. Full match coverage. It's Rovers against Oxford from 3 p.m.